This
Michelle.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Thank you for those kind words, Brendan. My name is Michelle, and I'm with First Home Bank. My bank's actually based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, but I am here locally in the lovely city of Overland Park, Kansas. So I've been in SBA lending now for about 10 years and banking for 12. And I guess Jason and I go way back. Jason will probably say, the SBA bug bit us, and we definitely jumped all in. And, honestly, I don't know that I could ever go back to doing regular conventional lending again. I think that I'm going to be doing SBA lending for the rest of my life. I believe that the SBA program, it's important because it really does help businesses achieve capital, like Jason was saying earlier. It really does help you grow your business, buy a business, restructure debt. We'll talk about that a little bit. There's a lot of tools within the SBA bucket to really help you move your business forward. And so that's one of the reasons that I have chosen this profession, and I remain in this profession. I love helping small businesses. I love finding the pain points, and I love finding the solutions for them. So that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. All right, so let's kick this off. Michelle, would you give kind of a highlight of what you saw at a very high level with this most recent stimulus package? And then just to let everybody know, she's going to be diving in. We're going to start with high level, and then there are some very specific questions that I had already put together just based on what I'm hearing. And then as you have questions also, please chat them in, because you will have questions. There is so much information that's out there. And I'm just going to preface this by saying Michelle's been doing a good job on keeping up with something that is a moving target. So I think trying to get a lot of this information is kind of like trying to nail Jello to a wall. It's just all over the place. So let me give a disclaimer right now. I'm going to throw it out there, and she's going to do it several times as well, that the information that she shares today could be different tomorrow, and it could be different next week. So that is part of the reason why I am introducing you to someone like Michelle, that is a resource that is staying on top of this every day with what's happening. And building a relationship with your banker is one of the most critical relationships that you have for business success right now. So Michelle, take it away with a highlight of the program first.
Yeah, I tried to break it down into kind of some sections. And so I'm going to start with what the top 5 highlights of the recent stimulus package is. I'll start with the most popular, the lovely PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, loan program. $284.45 billion was allocated to that program. So that's out of this CARES Act, out of what was signed recently. That's what was allocated for PPP. It's going to be available for new clients, and it's also available for round 2. So if you received a PPP loan prior, you can apply for a second PPP loan in this go around. $15 billion was allocated to the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program. These are available for promoters, theaters, performing arts operators, nonprofit museums, and several that are in that arena. It's going to be very NAICS code driven. It's going to be driven by whatever the number is that identifies your business industry. $20 billion was allocated to new EIDL programs, EIDL grants. So that's the Economic Disaster Loan Program. $25 million was allocated towards minority business development agencies, minority business development centers. We actually have one of those here in Kansas City with AltCap. They were unable to join today, but that's one of those centers that does lend into the urban core and does have a focus on lending to minorities. And then the 5th highlight I threw in here is a big one for UCPAs in the room. The CARES Act did allow for the expansion of the employee retention tax credit. So you must have a 20% or greater decline in business, and then it goes from basically approximately 5,000 per employee to 10,000 employee. This is a big deal. And the bigger issue here is that you can claim both your PPP loan and the tax credit. You can claim them both now. Prior to how it was written, you would not be able to claim both. So that was a big change in what came out in this CARES Act. Why is this relevant right now? It's relevant because cash flow is king. Cash flow is important, and we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And for a small business owner, the more cash that you can retain, the more options you have, the more you can flip, the more you can change, the more you can make an addition or a subtraction to your business that helps you move forward. And so all of these programs in some form or fashion really gives you access to capital and maybe helps you better control your cash flow scenario.
And that's one of the things I do want to actually take a step back here for just a second away from the SBA and talk about some strategies that businesses should be using right now to maximize cash flow. And what I'd love is just your perspective on this, and what are some of the things that as business owners we should be looking to improve that right now.
Yeah, I think the number one way to increase cash flow is to increase revenues and reduce expenses, right? Top number bigger, smaller number, bottom number smaller. So with that, though, I think that's everybody's goal in business. So I think I'm stating the obvious there. I will say probably the number one way, and I think Jason and Pat, you'll probably chime in and agree with me on this, but really a key way to increase cash flow is to restructure your debt. We have a lot of companies out there right now. When you look at the balance sheet, they might be on a short amortization. They might have taken out a loan that maybe was not so friendly. And just the ability to be able to restructure that debt into, a 7A SBA loan, working capital note, or a restructured debt, it basically allows us to stretch that debt over 10 years, thereby reducing payments, thereby increasing cash flow. So, there are a lot of programs right now, and I'll get into some benefits of SBA down the road, but really restructuring debt is a key way to basically, help you improve cash flow. Another way to improve cash flow would be just to obtain new capital. I mean, obviously any kind of injection in capital is going to obviously help your situation. I talked about alt cap earlier. With the minority lending program that they have, that's a way to do it, as well as through the EIDL grants as well.
So I want to throw in a question here, Michele. So I know that probably as a business owner, and I mean, I'm getting so many of these emails just blasting me with all of these different ways that you can obtain capital in your business right now. And, it seems like everybody's got easy money and everybody's got cheap money. But somebody sent me something the other day that I got to looking at, and some of the terms and conditions in the fine print, it sounded almost like payday lending kind of stuff. So
yeah, we in the business, we kind of consider that to be predatory lending. Cabbage, Capital Direct, Swift, these are all common fintech names. The fintech game has gotten very competitive, and basically they've got artificial intelligence that weeds through your emails and weeds through your searches and knows that somehow you tell somebody that you need money, and all of a sudden this magic email appears in your email, and it says, hey, we can have money to you tomorrow. And they truly can. You filled an online application, the next thing you know, boom, $100,000 dropped into your account the next day. All is great until they start going in on a daily or weekly basis and pulling money back out at a very high interest rate. So I would say before you ever take any of that easy cash, contact your banker, see what programs are out there, see what's available. Pat's nodding her head up and down. She knows this. Call Pat, call Jason, call Valerie, call myself. Find out what's out there. Call Mark, because there are better programs out there, and just because it's easy doesn't mean it's the right way to go.
Well, and we will make sure. So in the information about this post, as far as the invitation, what I would love to do is if you are a capital resource, I would love for you to go in and put in a comment and share information about who you are and who you serve in that LinkedIn post. And then also I will make sure that we have the information from AltCap. And Pat, I would love for you to share your information as well around being a resource for PPP, because the more we can put stuff into one central spot where it's easy for all of us to go back and find it, that's one of the benefits of doing these presentations and having conversations like this, is I don't want to have to remember all the details of this, and it will be so helpful to go back and look, and it's all in one spot. and it stays there for quite some time on LinkedIn. And this information, I promise you, just about everybody's going to be referencing back to something that was discussed today. Okay, so can you talk a little bit more about some of the SBA programs and the EIDL grants and EIDL loans?
Yes, so I'm going to start with the EIDL grants first, and obviously we've got quite a big allocation there. Again, $20 billion has been allocated for these EIDL grants.